have you here. And of course, right now, I'm going to start live streaming on Getter. All right. This is an exclusive live stream for Getter. And obviously, Jason, can you, if you want to present yourself, this is the second time that we have you here. The Freedom Post is really, really happy that you come to us every time that we ask for you. And of course, this is a great time to talk to you about Twitter, Elon, and of course, Getter. That is the main subject here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you very much, Freedom Post, for all of the great work that you're doing in spreading democracy and talking about the importance of free speech and really reminding people about the dangers of authoritarianism and the dangers of communism.
That's right. That's right, Jason. In the first conversation that you had with Laura De Rosa, our editor in chief, you told her some quite a you revealing some quite a bit assertions on several topics, and the one that is was impacting me personally was the your answer to the Elon Musk questions. I'm gonna read here from that interview what she said. She said, "Do you think this deal between Musk and Twitter that now is on hold for that time will finally go through?" And you say bluntly, "No. The numbers just don't work. I mean, Elon Musk has offered $54 a share and now is currently down to 37." End of quote. That is the starting point from this conversation. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, it really was no surprise that this deal fell apart because the numbers were never going to work. And it's important to keep in mind that literally right about the same time that Elon Musk made his offer at $54 a share, the trading price was some 17, 18% lower than what he was offering. And so the deal wasn't going to work. Here's what I think Elon Musk found out. I don't think it's as much about the bots. I don't think it's as much even about the culture, the politically discriminatory culture within Twitter. I think it's the fact that you can't make the kind of money with Twitter that Elon Musk was hoping for. The buried lead in all of this is when Elon Musk said that they would need to quadruple. That means times four the number of daily active users for Twitter to be a truly profitable company in the way that he envisions it, to allow them to scale. So that doesn't mean to increase their user base fourfold as far as new customers, but it means getting so many more people off the sidelines. You saw the frustration from Musk when he asked whether it be Justin Bieber or President Obama to please start tweeting more. He realized that many people have left Twitter. The Trump supporters have left Twitter. And that's why he was talking about President Trump being wrongly discriminated against. He was trying to extend an olive branch to say, let's get those people back. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize when we launched Getter, when we did research, upwards of 20 to 25% of all Trump voters in the United States quit social media, including Twitter, when he was deplatformed. So Musk was then looking at the same set of numbers, the same concerns of people no longer being active with the platform. That's the real reason why this deal fell apart. So if he thought that the revenue would ultimately catch up and he maybe had to take a little bit of a loss when he was buying it or a little bit of a worse price, he probably could have gotten past that. But when he realized he'd be overpaying for Twitter and that it's never going to be truly profitable, that's when this fell apart.
That's right. And this all drama, because it's kind of a drama, they put on hold. Then they start to asking about the bots, and he said, "Well, it's not the bots that they say that it has the platform." So he said that it's 20%, and all this public drama. Now Twitter has announced the intake to take Elon Musk to the court. That they sue probably Elon Musk. What do you thought about that? What are you thinking about that?
Well, boy, this is going to be a real clash of the titans. Elon Musk, Twitter, in the federal courts in Delaware, many billions of dollars at stake. Here's the thing, though. Right now, all the news coverage in the United States is about who has the upper hand legally, which of the two fighters will ultimately emerge, or could there be a settlement? The thing that's being glossed over is the fact that what they're fighting for is really kind of a burning rubble at this point. Twitter, what little reputation they had prior to Musk entering the idea of potentially purchasing them or acquiring them, their reputation has now been completely destroyed. People know that the culture is very left leaning, that if you're not left leaning, they really don't want you at Twitter. Second, we know that the business model is not good, as I just discussed, the fact they need to quadruple the number of daily active users, but also the bot problem, which you also referenced. Twitter says it's 5%. I don't know the inner numbers of Twitter, but here's what I can tell you. It's not 5%. If you spend 1 minute on Twitter, you'll see so many bots, and especially if you look at the comments, you realize they're a lot more than 5%.
That's right. That in my own experience between Twitter, I've been a Twitter user for about 10 years, and right now I have the same amount of followers in Getter just in 3 months. So what happened is I love Getter because they allows me to live stream, and what's happened with Twitter, they start to hiding out you know, like you being on the I don't know how to mention on the cancel part of Twitter because of
Well,
your
algorithm. It's the algorithm, and it's the shadow banning. So people who have voices like mine, like yours, magically don't get seen by as many people. And Twitter, ever since they made that change, supposedly it's under the guise of making sure you see content you really want to see. What they really want to do is make sure that people don't see content that they don't like.
and let's say these 20% of bots that they allow in the platform, they can move the narrative of political scenario. I mean, these bots can let you see only the stuff that they want to you see on the platform to make you change your mind on the political spectrum. You think that?
Oh, absolutely. Because what it starts to tell you is that the echo chamber, the fishbowl that you're operating in, they want you to think that either you have a similar opinion if it's something they like, or that you're outside the mainstream, that there's something wrong with you if you don't agree. Well, maybe making you second guess or question your own beliefs if you see everybody else seems to be going a different direction. But you see even the accounts that are always launching the negativity and the attacks. It's not a simple name such as at Jason Miller, at Esteban Rafael. It'll be something like Steve 54678 with no picture, just the blank emoji, and they'll be hurling vicious attacks saying you're terrible, you're a fascist, you do not support democracy. And you know that that's not a real person. You know that that's what they call a sock puppet account, either someone manipulating it, controlling it, or it's a computer generated bot, but you know that's not real. And I think that's ruined the user experience at Twitter. That's part of the reason with Getter, where it's all about the user experience. Do you enjoy opening the app and engaging with people? And that's really the key metric that we look through every day is, are we making it enjoyable for people to be on our platform? And I think we've done a pretty good job of that so far.
That was my next question about Getter. What is Getter doing about the bots? Because it's always present on every social media platform. Some people want to try to break the platform as they want it, just to hack or just to do something weird inside the platform, just to put their content outside. What is Getter doing with the algorithm? Other stuff you're managing right now?
Yeah, great question. So with regard to our algorithm, it's purely linear. So if you follow somebody and they post, or if you follow somebody and they repost, then you're going to see it in the chronological order, the linear order in which it appears. There's no elevating or moving down certain posts or certain commentary. If you follow them and they post or repost, you're going to see their content. Now, One of the things as far as bots, yes, bots are an issue for every platform. I mean,
Mhm.
even we have bots. We've increased our screening on the front end and have a
All right.
security team that every day, security and analytics, where we go through and track where bots are coming from, how we stop them, whether it's shutting down certain IP addresses, whether it's shifting our screening capabilities to make sure that those accounts are not being created. But then we also go back through the database to identify where bots may have occurred previously or what it might be bot suspicious activity and remove those accounts from the platform. So it's a constant effort that we have to remain vigilant to. Every platform has it, but the difference
Mhm.
is, are you being honest about it and being smart with how you're approaching it? Or are you doing as Twitter is doing and saying, hey, we only have 5%. It's not a real problem, when everyone knows that's not the truth.
Exactly. About Twitter, do you think that Twitter is the king of free speech, or is not anymore? What are your thoughts on that? Because I see that there is a big market right now that is Getter on trying to be the number one platform for news, and there is another platform that is already on track. What are your thoughts about Twitter? Kind of a be this political free speech for all the social medias.
Yeah, another good question. I don't think Twitter's been the leader on the free speech front for years. And I
All
think
right.
at a certain point when they launched the platform, I think they probably did have noble intentions. They wanted to connect people, not just in the US, but from around the globe. But at a certain point, that changed. And it became about connecting people who think like they do and disconnecting people who think differently. And especially as we've seen following President Trump's election in 2016,
Mhm.
where many people on the left and many people in the tech community blamed Twitter and blamed Facebook for Trump getting elected. They then changed up the algorithms. They introduced a thing called shadow banning, which it became a big issue. And then ultimately, we saw them shut down discussion of an important issue such as the Hunter Biden laptop, and then ultimately deplatform President Trump, a sitting president of the United States, entirely. So they've clearly moved away from what they may have started off on. As far as their current positioning, I think they're the king as far as the size, as far as the aspect of market share that they currently have, but they're not the king of free speech. And I think that's why they're not going to be at the top of the hill for that long. And they've certainly shown that they're going to stay around longer than MySpace. But look, for example, at Facebook. Facebook now is a dying platform. They actually lost people in the final quarter of 2021 as opposed to gaining people. That's not good. In fact, Facebook has said that for people who are under the age of 18, only 2% have Facebook accounts. And of that very small percentage, they're going to lose 45% of those over the next 2 years. So Facebook's dying. That's why they've bought Instagram. They're trying to push everyone to that. With Getter, not only do we have the timeline and are we growing, but we have Vision, our short video competitor to TikTok and Instagram Reels. So the younger people, the next generation, have that short video format with which to communicate.
Perfect. What are you doing with Getter to displace Twitter and other platforms from the being of the king of the hill? You know, what are you doing to push every user, or what I mean, every new user that comes to the platform? What are you doing in that matter?
Well, the first thing is we're going to protect free speech. We're going to make sure that everybody is treated the same. You're never going to be discriminated against if you have a political viewpoint that's different from mine or anybody else's, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, whether you don't care about politics at all. Getter is the place where you can go to where free speech is going to be protected. With our live streaming, such as what we're doing right now with Freedom Post, we now are over 160 million views since we launched this feature last October. Every day, there are programs going almost all day long in Spanish, in English, in Portuguese, French, German, all sorts of languages where people are communicating. Vision, the short video format, which I just referenced, we've put it all together in one place. So when you join Getter, you realize you can have the full capabilities that you want on social media with no political discrimination on one app.
Perfect. Let's talk about I hope you hear this term is wokeonomics. It's the first time that I heard about the wokeonomics is with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's an author from the Woke Inc. book, and he said like every time that a company goes public, is their course to stay in Wall Street. I'm asking you right now, Getter, which is the position of Getter between stay private or going public? Which are your thoughts about that?
So at the moment, the plans are to go public because that'll give us an infusion of additional capital from which to help grow the platform, whether it be the tech advancements, but then also introducing us to new markets all around the world, adding on engineers, support staff, things of that nature. But it's a really critical point that you raise because we look at it and say we're never going to change our culture. We're not going to wake up one day and say now we're going to start discriminating against people politically, or people can't have discussions about life, or people can't have discussions about the Second Amendment and gun rights here in the United States, or people can't discuss the dangers of communism or the CCP, or whether it's in Cuba, or whether it's regard to Maduro or anybody else. We have to make sure that that voice always remains. So if that means that ultimately we either delay going public, or at some point we decide just to stay private, every option is on the table. Again, right. The desired approach would be to go public just because you can get the cash infusion, but we're not going to compromise or change who we are.
So what do you think about ESG right now?
So ESG, what does that stand for again? I'm sorry.
It's kind of the policy that Wall Street comes to you and push you to force into the company the social justice.
Yes. So with regard to any of the social engineering or the forced social change dynamics, I think it's a bunch of nonsense. Mm-hmm. I think the aspect that we're going to have this group think where they force on us crazy values that are outside of our own, I think is really opposite of how people want to live. Most people, you know what they're worried about today? They're worried about the new inflation numbers. They say that we have the highest inflation in the United States in 40 years. And as you know, it's not just in the United States. Countries all around the world are facing inflation. That's what people are concerned about right now. And so we see these attacks by the left to go and say that we want to try to force some value set that's very liberal or very woke on you, and if you don't comply, then we're going to hold that against you or discriminate against you. I think many people reject that. We have to show that the tide is turning, that we're going to reject that, whether it's the media, whether it's academia, whether it's big business, and we're going to be standing up and opposing that at every step.
Perfect. Let's talk about numbers. Which are the numbers that Getters have right now in terms of users?
Yeah, so right now we're right about 6 million users globally, with half in the United States and half outside the United States. Where we're very excited about, obviously, is our growth in Brazil, which is our number 2 market, representing about 14% of our, as of yesterday, of our user base. We're also seeing considerable growth with our Spanish-speaking community. We're working with some additional upcoming advertising efforts to go and grow that. Those are some things where I'm excited about. And in fact, in much of our market research, it's shown that particularly in the United States, the Spanish-speaking community is even more open and willing to leave big tech and come and join platforms like Getter because they don't think that this wokeism speaks to them. They very much reject these efforts to squash the Catholic faith in particular. And so we really are putting a big effort on growing our Spanish-speaking community on the platform.
Yeah, we also reject the Latinx pronoun or something else that they can come up to. So, well,
you know, and it's interesting. There's new polling out today in the New York Times that shows in the United States that the Hispanic or the Latino American community is split right now on Republicans versus Democrats. Usually Democrats have a 20 or 30 point lead. Maybe it's a 60-30, so with some undecided. Right now, it's effectively a tie game, whether it's 45-45 or true 50-50 of where it is. And that's because Democrats have become this party of elitists, whereas Republicans have become more of a party of the
Mhm.
working class and are representing the values of faith and things of that nature. And so and especially law enforcement. I think Democrats, with their embrace of the BLM and the rioters and all the riots we saw in the middle of 2020, that really hurt the Democratic Party and sent a message to the Hispanic community that they would rather coddle the criminals than support the people who actually respect law and order.
Yeah, I agree with you. Talking about the 6 million users that you have, do you have any strategy for the stuff that all content creator wants? Like exposure or monetizing. Do you have any strategy on that, or just you want to keep it low, not to talk about a lot of that, or you actually have a something to say about monetizing and exposure?
Absolutely. So we're getting ready to, well, when I say getting ready to, we're working on the development of Getter Pay,
Mhm.
which will be our payment competitor to Apple Pay and Alipay. But as part of that, we'll have a way for content creators to monetize what they're doing on the platform, whether it's an individual, whether it's a content creator like the Freedom Post. And so I imagine this will be released probably this winter, is probably
All
the
right.
time frame on when that will come out in a full open to everybody type of dynamic. But so we're working on that. Some of the details are still coming together, but I'm pretty excited by what I'm seeing so far.
Perfect. Now, let's talk about politics. Now, I know you are into that. You have your sources. Right now, Elon Musk, keeping on the line that we're talking about, Elon Musk is backing DeSantis. That is a news that is coming right now. I reading right now on the Daily Wire, and it says that Elon Musk is going full backing up DeSantis. What do you think about this move? Because I feel Elon is just like a little kid. One time he was a communist, and then he realized that the taxes are really bad, and he moved from California to Texas, and he read Peel, and all this drama. I don't believe at all. So I don't see Elon as a libertarian person. So what do you think about all the political move that is Elon doing right now? And what are yours? So seeing the difference between platforms and CEOs.
Yeah,
Well, Elon is not the sorry. Elon is not the CEO of Twitter. What I mean is between CEOs, like political forces.
yeah. Look, Elon Musk is going to be supportive of whoever he thinks will be able to help his companies and whatever who's going to be in charge of things such as subsidies or tax breaks, or other things that companies like SpaceX and Tesla very much rely on. One of the things with Elon Musk, if you don't like his current position or his current support of somebody or a certain company, just wait a week. As you reference, it's probably going to change. He changes his mind frequently. I'm going to buy Twitter. I'm not going to buy Twitter. I like Trump now. I like DeSantis. Look, next week could be back to Joe Biden and the Democrats. Who knows? But I do think that as we look forward to 2024, the thing that nobody's saying right now is we want the same thing. What everybody's saying is we want something different. And I think a lot of people are having buyer's remorse with regard to Joe Biden. And they're
Mhm.
saying if we had just kept the policies the way that they were, we wouldn't be in this mess. We wouldn't have the inflation problem. We wouldn't have the crisis at our southern border. Putin probably would not have invaded Ukraine. So a lot of people are realizing, hey, maybe President Trump had some mean tweets, but you know what? I really liked it when gas was only $2 a gallon.
That's right. And what about the other competition that you have right now as a platform? Because I don't see Getter as a micro blogging. I see much further than that. I see like live streaming. I see like short videos. But let's talk about the True Social and Parlor. How you keeping on track with them? Do you have any communication with the CEOs, or just you're doing your thing and that's it?
So we're largely doing our thing. I, of course, have a regular communication line with President Trump. Obviously, I
All right.
worked for him in 2016 and 2020. If he runs again in 2024, I'll be fully supportive and active with his campaign. I won't be leaving Getter. I'll be staying at Getter and continuing to grow the company. But I'm personally a very strong supporter of President Trump, and that's never going to change. I think competition is good. I think it makes us continue to work hard. It lights a fire under us and shows that we need to keep hustling, because what we can't have is just everything being consolidated with one or two companies, and then if they decide, like they did with the Hunter Biden laptop, that they want to shut down the conversation, they can do it. When you have a proliferation, when you have a decentralization of free speech outlets, then people always have a venue, they always have that avenue to go in and talk and share their voice. So that's what we want to do. Ultimately, I think that it'll be clear that we're the market leader as far as the challengers to big tech. And I think a lot of people who maybe are checking out Truth or checking out Parler or even any other platform will ultimately focus their time on Getter. And that's where I think the trend line is.
And the final question, Jason. Um, what are your thoughts on the 230 section of the SEC Act? I need, what are you thinking about? They have to repeal, they have to stay, which are, what are the
Yeah.
Congress and the
Right.
Senate, what have to do, we have to do with this?
Yeah, great question. For anyone who doesn't know Section 230, that's the part of the Communications Decency Act from 1996. So it's very outdated. It's 25, almost 30 years old. But it's the legislation that says if you're a platform such as a Twitter or Getter or Facebook or Rumble or anything else, that if other people are posting their materials, as long as it's not illegal, as long as you're making an effort to take down something that is breaking the law, that you cannot be held liable for what people post on your platform. I do think this is important and critical to make sure that we have this town square, we have this aspect of ideas. If you're a publisher, say the New York Times, every single letter, every single word that appears on their pages, they're responsible for. But that's different. Again, they're approving every single thing that comes out. You can't do that with a social media platform. You can't literally go through and say, we like this post, we don't like that post. You can say things fit or do not fit your community guidelines and your terms of service. That, of course, you can do. But here's the thing that we do that the big tech platforms do not. And that is we take politics out of the moderation. We make sure that there's no illegal posting, things such as ISIS videos or child endangerment videos. There's no doxing. No racial or religious epithets that'll appear on Getter. Otherwise, they'll be removed. But what you can't do is go and look through and say, well, I like what the conservatives say, but I don't like what the liberals say, or vice versa. But that's exactly what Twitter and Facebook and the big tech platforms do. So I think Section 230 has to be reformed. And so if you want that privilege, if you want that protection, when it comes to the aspects of the immunity, so to speak, from being held legally responsible, then you have to prove that you're not discriminating politically against people of different beliefs.
That's interesting. Reform. I always heard about repealing. Any final thoughts, Jason? Do you have any hidden feature that you want to share with us, or any other stuff that from Getter that you want to let us know? You know, like improving all the growing from the users, that making more appealing to them, just to make the, you know, the migration from Twitter or other platform to Getter.
Yeah, well, one of the things we just launched that we're very excited about finally are direct messages. So we have direct messages, DMs on Getter, which are fantastic. That means you don't have to go and send DMs on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or anything else. You can focus your DMs on Getter, keeps everything right there within the family. That's our latest new feature we're excited about. Additional things will be coming out in August and September. Really, we'll go back to the building community, about how we go and have people connecting with each other, whether finding other Getter users in your area, different fun things, different polls, online things that allow people to interact and engage. So that's what's coming up next. But DMs, direct messages are now on Getter for everybody, on Apple, on Android, on the web. Go check it out.
Thank you, Jason. It's been an honor to be here with you. and such a fan of everything you do. And just to let you know, I used to do live stream on Instagram. They shadow banned me. Then later I found Getter and I recovered my faith on the live stream. Now I'm on Getter doing the live streams. No, there is no problem at all with my speech, and I have to thank you for that. Thank you, Jason. See you next time. I hope you're um, being here for a third time, fourth time. You're welcome in the Freedom Post.
Thank you very much for having me.